Thanks, Ken Cora. I'd like to warmly welcome the motion in front of us and to agree with the proposed solutions, many of which seem to make eminent sense, such as agreeing a roadmap with the teaching unions on how we can achieve full pay equality as soon as possible, re-establishing the, of course, substitute supply panel at primary level, and the use, of course, of teachers on career breaks, job sharing, and indeed retired teachers, and also, of course, recognition, or swift recognition, registration for qualified teachers from Northern Ireland and indeed other countries, and in particular, of course, expedite the work started after the 2015 Teaching Council report. So these are all valuable suggestions which I'd urge the Minister to adopt. Last week, I asked the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform whether his department had received a request from the Department of Education and Skills in relation to the shortage of teachers in key subject areas at secondary level. And the Minister Donoghue told me, and I quote, that he's informed there is not a teacher shortage, but rather a shortage of teachers in some specific subject areas, end quote. But I have to say, Cian, that I feel this is typical Fine Gael spin. A shortage is not a shortage, although there is a shortage, and the specific subject areas with reported shortages are in fact those in the critical STEM subjects in science, technology, engineering and maths. That area, of course, had much publicised strategic plans announced late last year in Budget 2018, along with the importance, of course, of digital learning. But the Fine Gael governments, I think, since 2018, with the exception, I have to say, the notable exception of Deputy Cannon, they have an appalling record in relation to ignoring the importance of education in coding and computer science for our future social and economic development. I mean, Minister Bruton seems to have just copped on to the fact that coding in particular was depending on volunteers at local levels, local community bodies, after school bodies and so on to develop, and yet it's so critical for our future as a nation, as a digital nation. A recent PQ also informed me that some of the approximately 2,900 additional posts due to be filled in 2016-17 have not in fact been filled, all been filled, and Budget 2018 of course did announce 1,300 additional teaching posts at both primary and second level. But in October, I think the Irish Times accurately reported that at second level, I quote, the situation is complicated by an oversupply of teachers in some subject areas such as English and geography, and an undersupply of teachers for languages, science and maths, and that's the view of school management bodies. But conflicting figures around the number of graduating teachers are circulating, but principals, teachers and the trade unions are clearly telling us that there is a crisis in filling those key STEM subject areas, and this is a heavy responsibility, I think, for the current Minister. And like other deputies, I've received a lot of correspondence, from teachers who receive unequal pay for equal work, who are struggling to make ends meet, and who are concerned that some students may be missing out on stable, expert instruction in important subjects, or that you have a number of teachers, for that class in a particular year, and that there's problems with substitution and so on, and that lack of substitute teachers is considered a real concern. The ASTI, INTO and the TUI trade unions made a submission to the Public Service Pay Commission in which they highlighted the need for pay equality to be urgently rectified, and as a cornerstone of addressing the problem which the Minister has now faced. Not only, of course, have new entrants started at a lesser salary, incremental credits were also changed and qualification allowances were abolished, and of course my own trade union ASTI, they reported there's been a reduction of 62% in applications for teacher education courses, and that really is concerning, Minister. And the HEA has also said that, of course, significant numbers of recently qualified teachers have emigrated, and that emigration figures is increasing fivefold. The Teaching Council report, of course, Striking the Balance, Teacher Supply in Ireland, the Technical Working Group report published in December 2015, made a number of useful recommendations, which included the setting up of a standing group to examine the supply needs of the sector into the future at both primary and second level, improvement in data collection, particularly with regard to education and training boards. Now, those recommendations, of course, something that the Minister should take very seriously and urgently. We have to wonder, I think, why has Fine Gael steadfastly refused calls to urgently restore pay levels for newly qualified teachers?
Thank you, Deputy.
who are hired on lower pay scales after the crash. So I believe our education system, we know, was a primary reason for our Celtic Tiger economic advance and the excellence of our teachers as the cornerstone of our social and economic development. Minister Broughan now is the person at the in front of the steering wheel, and it's important that he does listen to this debate and I believe adopt the positive resolutions that come from it. Thanks, Ken.